away, buddy, fly away. It is I, Super Mike, and I'm here to read some of the stories. Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna get rid of this. This is way too much. So hey guys, welcome back to another fanfictions right here in MLLF. So guess what? I'm making another Klance fic for you guys. This time I'm reading this one, and it's a superhero AU, if you have not guessed it. So what I'm reading today is this fic called You Got Me Like Red and Blue. It's a superhero edition, I guess. Yeah, it is a superhero AU in honor of the movie of Infinity War, which I have watched. If you want to watch my review of Infinity War, go over to my main channel. There is a playlist of Tell 'em All, where I tell them all about the movie Infinity War. I have not finished the end game because I'm not gonna watch the movie. I don't want to see myself what was going on. But this is a superhero AU, but it's not really a Marvel AU. But it's just Key and Lance now as your superheroes on that city. Let's keep looking at it here, and it's about 9,000 words. So we gotta get this through as much as we can, so that we'll be done. And that was one of the year ones that I select. And just so you know, if we have talking about it, I select one shot of one of the years. One shot for year 1, one shot for year 2, one shot for year 3, that I will put this one on my channel, that I could just make an audiobook. And the rest of them, you have to read it on your own. So why not make one of this one to be my year 1? And I found it. It's called You Got Me Like Red and Blue. Well, in honor of the third album, in honor of the trilogy of Gone Sharpshooter, Red and Blue, which will be coming out very soon. I'm out very soon, so that right there on Emma Records. If you have not go over, go check out. It's on Linktree, and we can find Emma Records. Okay, right now let's get to this story, and hopefully you understand what it means to be a hero. I mean, to be a superhero. So let's just jump right into this. You got me like red and blue. When they first met, Lance didn't know who he was. Lance crouches on his perch, a couple stories up and off to the side of the main building. He's got a good vantage point from here, but that's not too surprising. He's good at finding vantage points. His bow in his hand, not quite held up, but definitely held at the ready. One arrow notched and held in place by a few careful fingers, tugged back just enough to start to feel the resistance of the strain. He poised in limbo, body relaxed yet still as stone, internally wound tight while externally at ease. The breeze tugs at his hair, shifting across the bare skin of his upper arms. It's a welcoming relief, just cool enough to speak of fall, a hidden bite that whispers of the coming winter. He keeps an ear out, but most things are drowned out by the usual din of the nearby city. It doesn't matter, sight is his thing anyway. He scans the streets and pathways below, eyeing the windows that he can see. He's not picking up any heat signatures, and he hasn't for the past few minutes. Not since he got to his perch and picked up the few remaining sentries. It's strange. He puts a finger to his earpiece. "How's it going, Jade?" His voice is muffled just slightly through the fabric of the mask, clinging to the bottom half of his face. But it's not too bad. It's a breathable and flexible material, comfortable enough that he sometimes forgets he's wearing it at all. I just got to a dated hub 30 seconds ago, comes the disgruntled reply. Lance feels his lips squirting to a small smirk, just enough that it leaks to his voice. 30 seconds? You losing your touch. Believe it or not, they upped their security since last time. Probably didn't like the fact that you could hack them in 10 seconds flat and digitally graffiti your face all over their files. There's an amused hum. Too bad their security still sucks. Just a couple extra walls. It'll take no time. Blue, status report. There goes Allura, clipped and quick. She always been far more serious when it comes to missions. Not one to banter on the job. They all deal with the stress of it differently. He makes jokes, Pitch uses sarcasm, and Allura gets short and straightforward. He'll humor her though. This isn't just an ordinary job. This is a rescue mission for one of their own. Nothing out this way, Rose. Clearer than when I first got here. But it's been quite since. Can Jade pick up on heat signatures? And Jade upgraded my eye to see through 2 feet of solid wall in a 100-foot radius. I got a really weird feeling about this, Hunk says. Ever the voice of trepidation, they learned to heed Hunk's gut. Bad feeling? Allura asked sharply. Not quite. Not really bad. Just weird. Weird feeling. I don't know what to make of it. There's a contemplative hum. Just stay on alert. I don't like the feel of this place either. It's too empty. It's almost like someone already swept through, or the Galra are somewhere else tonight. Maybe we just got lucky? Hawk suggests. God, I sure hope so. That would be such a great change of pace. I'm in, Page's announcement, voice becoming urgent and hurried. And I found him. He's in the easternmost building of this compound, the one we passed coming in. 3rd floor, room 307, facing the north. It's an experiment room. He hears a sharp intake of breath and a soft gasp, feels himself stifling too, before his resolve hardens. I'm closest to that building. I'm going on ahead. No one tries to stop him, but he does get a little firm. Be careful, Blue. We're on our way. He lets go of his calm and turns to the east, eyes settling on the building in question. Sliding his arrow back to his quiver and slinging his bow over his shoulder, he wastes no time scrambling down from his perch, keeping his eyes set on heat detection. He hurries through the allies of the compound. He doesn't come across anyone, and that's more unsettling than it is a relief. When he reaches the building, the entrance is unguarded, and he slips in on silent feet, pulling his bow from his shoulder and once again notching an arrow. Nothing. No one in the lobby. No one in the adjoining rooms. He reaches the elevators without trouble and punches the number 3. As he rises, he feels his guts sink and twist. He doesn't know what he'll find, and he's scared to find out. The Galra are known for their experimentation with alien technology, arriving on Earth through a wormhole and despite attempts to escape the collapse of their home planet, they set up roots and operate in the shadows. Allura and Koran came not long after, 2 of the last of their kind after their people warred with the Galra for centuries. They're the ones that brought them together, who found the Voltron and Altea Corp. They're doing their best to stamp out the Galra influence, but it never seems to be enough. They breed and spread like vermin. Always another nest. Always another base. Always more in the shadows. The fact that they managed to capture Shiro is terrifying. The fact that he's being held in one of their experimentation rooms is a nightmare. Lance only hopes they're not too late. The elevator stops on the 2nd floor, but he's greeted by a welcoming committee. One with guns trained on him. Instincts throw him to the floor in an instant, dodging out of the way as they open fire. He aims as he falls, shooting one of them in the chest and causing them to stagger backwards. Then he's on his feet, grabbing the gun from his loosening grip and spinning, using the man as a shield as he aims the gun at his companions. Nothing he can't handle. He fells them easily, leaves their bodies on the floor, and tries not to think too hard about whether or not they're dead. He has other things to worry about, and he clamps down hard on the growing nausea that always comes after a fight. This fight isn't over yet. He hurries through the halls, staying one step ahead of the Galra attempting to swarm him with the use of his heat vision and his impeccable aim. He's always been a good shot, hand-to-eye coordination unlike any other, a steady hand, an ability to wait for the right shot. But with the use of the eye Altea Corp designed for him, he's damn inhuman. He gets arrows off right as the sentries round the corners, arrows sinking exactly where Lance wants them to. He keeps running, keeps moving, yanking the arrows out of their chest as he hurries past, before the bodies even hit the ground. Usually, he's one for stealth, but this isn't a mission for stealth. Not anymore. They know he's here, and they no doubt know who he's after. He just needs to get Shiro as quickly as possible, get him safe, and wait for the team. So he leaves the trail of bodies behind him, and doesn't spare a glance back. He knows when he reaches the hallway to rooms that face north, slows even more when he sees that the door to room 307 is ajar. Even stranger still is the trail of unconscious and bleeding bodies that lead down the hallway in the opposite direction. Did his team get to Shiro first? When he pushes the door open, however, it's not his team that he finds when he pushes the door open. Bow poised and fingers lingering over his quiver. A couple of Gara dressed in what he's come to associate with their scientist uniforms are laid out on the floor, unconscious or dead, he doesn't know. And there, across the room, helping an unconscious Shiro off the slab and pulling his arm over their shoulder, is a member of the Blade of Mamora. He knows of the Blade. All of Voltron does, though they don't know how much about them. They're incredibly secretive, all to wear the same matching outfits with the same mask and hood that hide everything. They're usually in and out before Voltron can stop them, let alone talk to them, or do anything but catch a quick glimpse. They always seem to pop up where the Galra are, but they don't seem to be part of the Galra organization. Nor do they seem to want to stand against Voltron. Tentative allies. They don't know enough to trust, but enemy of my enemy and all that. They've never been hurt or attacked or even vaguely threatened by anyone from the Blade, so he doesn't exactly fear for his life or Shiro's. Still, he doesn't like the look of one of the Blades shouldering his teammates. No, 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 he says as he steps to the room. Blade's head snaps up, glowing the blue eyes of the mask trained on him. He shivers, hating that he can read them. Still, the Blade doesn't move as he moves forward, shouldering his bow and grabbing Shiro's other arm, slinging it over his shoulder. I'm saving Onyx. The Blade just stares at him, and Lance realizes that while he can't read their facial expressions, they're pretty open about their body language, stiff and rigid in uncertainty and hesitation, their obvious need to flee, but unable to do so. Lance just levels him with a flat look, knowing the guy can't see his frown, but hoping it shows in his eyes nonetheless. There's no way the Blade doesn't know who he is. Voltron exists in the spotlight. As long as they're in uniform, everyone knows who they are. Superheroes and all that. Look, my team is coming. We're getting him out of here. The Blade finally relaxes. Through just a fraction. Fine. A voice deep and rugged, thought stiff and indignant. He's reluctant as he lets Shiro go, slipping away slowly so Lance has time to adjust to holding all his body weight. Turns out Shiro is really heavy, but he bites at his lip, unwilling to ask for help now. The Blade wears a belt around his waist, on top of his uniform. He reaches behind him, pulling his dagger from his sheath as he stalks toward the door. He crouches, peering around the corner before gesturing to Lance to follow, biting back a grunt of effort he does. But his slow progress with Shiro's unconscious weight dragging him down. He swears he hears a sigh before the Blade returns to his side, lifting Shiro by his other arm once again, though he keeps his dagger in his hand. What are you even doing here? Lance asks as they make it out into the hallway, guiding him toward the elevators. He keeps his eyes out, turning this way and that to scan for his signatures. But it seems like between the two of them, there's no one left on this floor. I can't tell you that, Cobb's automatically interrupted by. Lance frowns, brows furrowing as he stops. The blade jerks to a stop a moment later, turning to find Lance's gaze already on him. He stares openly at the glowing spots where his eyes should be. He stares, unblinking, hearing and feeling of soft whirs that his right eye makes as it adjusts and readjusts, moving through Lance's different scanners. It took some getting used to, but Lance finds it mostly comforting now. Still, he knows it's a little disconcerting for others to see, especially this close. Higher than average body heat, quick heartbeat, armor covers his face and chest, but most other points are left vulnerable. His arrows could no doubt pierce that suit. The blade stares back, but Lance can see the suitable shift of his weight. Nervousness. Good. Most people get antsy when Lance stares like this. One natural dark blue eye, and the other bright and icy blue. Faint backlit glow, and a clear mechanical movement when he shifts through scanners. It tends to freak people out, and he uses that to his advantage. Give me a good reason why I shouldn't just shoot you right here, right now. He can't see the frown or the frustration, but he hears in the blade's voice, sees the way he steps and screams. We're on the same side, you idiot. Prove it. Tell me why you're here. We know next to nothing about the blade. As far as I know, this is the only conversation that's ever happened between our sides that wasn't between our leaders. We don't know what you're after and what your goals are, and that makes you dangerous. Especially when I just found you attempting to get away with the unconscious body of our leader. Another side, shoulder slumping in defeat, head turning away, and mask tilted toward the floor. We came here to disrupt a transfer of prisoners, experiment subjects. They were said to be moved from this location to another. We blew up a satellite base a mile or so away to distract them, and came here to get the prisoners. It's reluctant, but sounds truthful enough. Lance watches him, eyes scanners trained on his vital signs, neither pointing to a lie. That's nice and all, but that doesn't explain why you're here, and your bodies aren't. Blade snaps again, straightening and shifting Shiro's arm draped over his shoulder, shifting closer, protective. The others left with the prisoners we freed from the transport cells. I didn't know Shiro was here, but when I found out, His voice sounds thick and emotion, far more than Lance had expected. I couldn't leave him. All right, he says with a sharp nod, already moving forward again. The blade stumbles a moment before keeping up. I trust you. That easily? Incredulous, wary, doubtful. Lance tilts his head to gaze at him sidelong, grinning through he knows the blade won't be able to see it, but he can feel the amusement cooking in his eyes. Yup. A hesitation. Why? Lance looks away, eyes shifting through the gears like a stuttering camera, switching back to his heat detection. Picks up a few heat signatures, sliding up from the floor, no doubt from the elevator. You call him Shiro! Frick. Lance's grin widens, pausing as he guides their maneuvering of Shiro to slam against a wall. We kept some company! He nods, down the hall, as the other things open, guard flooding into the hallway. He pulls his bow from his shoulder. Wanna show me what you got? They clear the hall together, and manage to get Shiro to the first floor safely, holding their own there until Lance's team arrives. By the time they do, the blade has slipped seamlessly away, leaving the others to question Lance's story. They get Shiro back to Altea Corp, safe and sound, but it takes a week before he's back on his feet. Even then, he has shadows in his eyes. He's got a fancy new metal arm that Lance hadn't noticed in the moment of his rescue, but now makes him sick to his stomach with the knowledge that the Gara took his arm. Still, Shiro takes it in stride, and Pigeon Honk set to work recalibrating the arm with Altea attack. When Lance mentions the blade who held him to Shiro just smiles, small and secretive, soft and fond, calls him a friend but doesn't elaborate. Lance finds his curiosity piqued, though it can't be certain they'll ever meet again. Now, before we move on to the story, guys, this is a pretty good setup. There is a rescue mission from their own, and Lance has to find that one in that building. And that building is where Galra Empire worked, and they have the experimentation room where they experiment with their subjects. And one of the subjects is Shiro. Is this Galra's one of the test subjects? To experiment with their alien stuff. And they got into the rescue, and then all of a sudden this blade, or is a member of Blade more. And I'm gonna say it to you guys, but the blade right there, you've seen this from the season 4 or 5. I think it's Keith, right? Okay, remember Keith wants to become a Paladin of Voltron, but he's also becoming the Paladin. No, the Blade. Remember Blade Memora? He done through all the tests and he becomes one. So he has to leave the Voltron behind and get everyone else do their own work of some sort. But yeah, that's all there is to it. But man, isn't just really crazy when this season goes through and through. Just remember those times. Anyways, let's get right into it. And right now, they found in this rescue. We got Shiro now back to Altea Corp. And let's just elaborate to what was going on in the next section. Lance saw him a few more times after that, but never knew his face. He was easy to spot though, easy to pick out from the crowd. For one, he was smaller than the others, significantly so. The smallest blade Lance has seen so far, not that he gets to see many, and one without a tail or ridiculous body proportions. In fact, his little blade is built lean and lithe, quick and agile, and that suit clings to every curve of his body throughout every movement. Not that Lance is looking, except he totally is. He also stands out by the belt he wears. They all have various belts and straps that hold their weapons of choice, usually some sort of blade, all with a similar coloring and style, all with the same symbol and stone on the tilt. They all transform. Lance has seen it in action, but his little blades is usually dormant in the shape of a dagger at his back, and he usually fights with it as a dagger too, only occasionally making it grow to a sword form. Not that Lance pays that close of attention, except he totally does. There's something less physical, however, that also makes him stand out. It's the way he carries himself. The other blades are calculated and quick. They dive in and out of missions. They never look back. This little blade almost always looks back. He hesitates sometimes, waits for just a second, just long enough to decide whether or not Team Voltron needs his help, or whether they're fine on their own. They're usually fine, but that doesn't stop the blade from hesitating, looking like he's itching to turn around. Not that Lance has noticed, except, yeah, he has. He exhales, fingers releasing the arrow. It flies, straight and true, landing exactly where he anticipated the Galra sentry beam, burying deep in their chest. He barely looks at the impact before ducking down again, already pulling another arrow, this one heavier and fractured, ready to split and shatter and send shards flying upon impact. He leans away from his cover, arrow up, cybernetic eye already sighting down the shaft. Target circle in his vision, scanning and searching. A group of Gara around the corner, heading for where Allura is supposed to be defending Pidge while she does her thing. Inhale, aim, exhale, fire. It's so quick. He doesn't question his aim, and he doesn't need to. It hits a wall, shattering into the group. He hears their cries. A flash of dark blues and blacks and purples. He turns his head sharply, catching heat signatures and movement, slowing for just a second, just long enough for his vision to sharpen on the figure that disappears from sight. He plays back the vision, pausing, confirming what he thought he saw. He tilts his head to the side, tapping his earpiece with his shoulder. "We got company!" Good company or bad company? Sure, suppose. Blade and Mamora. What are they doing here? Allura, Borsha. Probably find Galra, stomping out their drug trade here. Same as us. They heard a little more from the plane over the past few weeks. Their leader has been in contact with the team, exchanging messages with Shira and Laura. They have a tentative truce, an acknowledgement that they're on the same side. But the Blade wants no part of the spotlight. They don't want to be public, and they don't want to have to abide by the constricting laws the Voltron often finds themselves tangled up in. Lance gets it. Allura is a little more cautious. A footstep and the subtle hum of an energy blaster charging is the only warning he gets. Instincts take over, and he dives to the side, rolling away as a shot hits the railing at the ledge where he had been perching, taking out a chunk of it. A Galra, big and burly, gun pointed at him. Too close to draw and shoot, Lance drops his bow to the ground, pulling out a sturdy arrow and charging. He slides, narrowly avoiding another shot and ramming the arrow into the Galra's thigh as he slides by. The Galra howls, gun drops to the ground. It becomes a scuffle. Lance doesn't like to think he's weak by any means. He works out. His arms have some good strength to them from using his bow. He can run for miles, swim for longer, but the Galra are some kind of mix between alien, human, and genetic experimentation. They're made to be stronger, faster, and hit harder. It doesn't take long before he's been bested. Several new bruises on his skin and bones aching as he's shoved to the floor. His cheek hits the ground, and he grits his teeth. There's a hand at the back of his neck, choking of his air supply a little, but not at a good enough angle to actually suffocate him. Break his neck, though? Yeah, that could possibly happen. He struggles, but there's a knee in his back, pinning him in place. His hands scratch and claw the ground. He tries to get his own knees under him for leverage. He can see his bow where he left it, sadly out of reach, and can't get to his quiver. Frick. At times like this, where he wishes he had some kind of super soldier genetics like Shiro, or sturdy mutations like Hunk, or crazy alien telekinesis like Allura. Hell, even Pidge probably has a million gadgets and tasers on her person at all times. None of them are ever helpless, not like he is now. He grits his teeth and wonders if this is the day that he dies. Then there's a jerk from the bite above, a gurgle cry that ends in a hissing exhale. Then the weight is gone, falling to the floor beside him in a heap. He struggles out warm body, rolling onto his knees and spinning around, already reaching for an arrow. But he freezes when he sees the blade with a small bill crouching over the body, pulling his side from the man's throat. Hey, I know you. The blade's head snaps to him, but the mask is expressionless. The voice flat and clipped. No, you don't. Yep, totally do. Lance pushes him to his feet, hurrying over to snatch up his bow. He feels naked without it, defenseless. Hates that feeling. His eye is good for a lot of things, but it doesn't do much when he doesn't have a weapon. He turns back to the blade, but the guy is already hurrying away. Lance scrambles after him. You're the tiny blade. He sees the blade shoulder slap him, but he says nothing. He scrambles over the ledge where Lance had been perched, and Lance barely hesitates before following. His spot has been found. He needs a new one anyway. And besides, his team is on the move, and he needs to follow them. So with his bow slung over his shoulder, he climbs down after the blade and hurries to keep up. He likes to think the look he got was curious and impressed. What can I call you? He asked, launching an arrow over Blade's shoulder. He stiffens and freezes in surprise. The arrow lands squarely in the chest of Galra, having coming around the corner ahead of them. When he looks back, he has to be impressed. Nothing. Tiny blade? His shoulders rise to his ears. No. Little knife? The hands at his sides clench into a fist, and the other around the hilt of his knife. No. He turns and walks away. Nice ass? He turns around sharply. What? Lance grins beneath his mask. Nothing. They hurry between buildings, following the sounds of a fight. He can hear a loud crashing and shouting coming from one direction. Honk, no doubt. A lot of bright lights another way to indicate a lowering pitch. This has been a drug bust gone south, and the Galra have scattered, leaving them to pick up the pieces. He needs a new vantage point. Now. He tilts his head, scanning the possible perches with a quick, calculated gaze. He can see easily in the shadows of the night. When he finds the right one, he wastes not time heading for it, slinging his bow over his shoulder, and he climbs quickly and efficiently. His gloves and shoes are specially designed for it, and the burr in his muscles is familiar. Once on his perch, he readies his bow, notches an arrow, and scans the view below him. He's surprised to find the blade has crawled up and perched beside him. What are you doing? You clearly need backup. Lance hums thoughtfully, tears in his eyes, worrying as he tries to pinpoint the familiar signatures of his team. His eye is attuned to each of them, causing them all to stand out among their bodies. I'm gonna call you Red. What? Why? Confusion. Bewilderment. Cute. I had a cat named Red once. Acted all grumpy, but followed me around everywhere. I'm not following you. Indignant, now grumpy, adorable. Plus, our team has a lot of color code names, but we don't have a Red yet. You have Rose. Rose is more pink than red. I'm not part of your team. Another thoughtful hum. He pulls the string back, relishes the tension in it, lets the arrow fly. But you could be. He says nothing to that, but Lance can't help but think that nothing is better than refusal. Then his eye catches movement, snaps to it like a magnet. Everything seems to slow down as it feeds information to his brain at a rapid fire, making the world look like slow motion as he catches every little movement. The movement of a Gara sentry, the shine of a metal gun, a quick flash of a shot being fired, a shot too big to be a normal gun, or even an energy blaster. He calculates the aim and trajectory quickly. Time so slow to give his brain time to process all information his eye is feeding him. Or maybe he's just that fast at processing. He moves quickly, twisting and slamming into the blade at his side. The bow rolls to the side, falling off the perch. Lance clings to him, bow still in his hand, wrapped around the other's back. Thankfully, the perch isn't too high, and they hit a few surfaces on their way down. He lands first, then rolls, shielding the blade with his body, as the shot hits and the ledge where they had been explodes. The blade rolls them again, shoving them off to the side of the alley as debris begins to fall. He's on top of Lance, straddling him and propping himself up on his elbow as he lifts his head, turning away to gaze up at the hole in the building where they had been. Lance blinks up at him, silhouetted by the fire that catches above. His hood fell down in their tumble, pulling around his shoulders. So had his mask, leaving his face bare. Holy crap, he breathes, quiet enough that he's not quite sure anyone will be able to hear him. The blade's head snaps to him anyway, brow furrowing and lips pursing. He's purple, skin a very little shade of violet. He's seen that before as a common trait among the Galra. His eyes are deep indigo, tiny little fangs peck out from his lips. His ears have 2 points to them, sticking out from a mop of unruly dark purple hair with an undercollar of magenta. You're beautiful. He doesn't mean to say it, but in his surprise, his brain-to-mouth filter kinda gets jammed, and he's left saying what he's thinking because, holy crap, this guy's gorgeous. The blade's eyes widen, lips parting, and okay, he's got some very kissable lips. And Lance swears he sees a dark blush spreading over his cheeks, but then the blade is pushing off of him, standing and dusting himself off, already pulling up his hood, and the mask shimmering back into existence to hide his face once more. Come on, I gotta get you back to your team. Lance felt his lips tug into a smirk, propping himself up on themselves. Ah, you do care. Shut up. It's disgruntled, but not angry as he holds his hand out for Lance to take, hauling him to his feet. Blue? Blue, are you okay? We heard the explosion. Laura's frantic voice comes through his comms. Yeah, I'm alright. Red's got my back. There's a pause. Then several voices. Red? The blade who helped me rescue Shiro. He looks around. Red is already halfway down the alley. Slinking through the shadows, he lowers his voice. Guys, I saw his face. He's gorgeous. There's a cluster of groans through his comms, and a soft chuckle that sounds suspiciously like Shiro. Alright, this section just focuses on the clans now. But there's some sort of a drug trading, and they're now fighting. And then we have Lance involved, and that he involved, and Lance doomed. But Keith, I think, in the blade, got himself rescued. Got Lance rescued, and Lance knew the face of it, and it's purple. And he's not human. He's Galra, just like them, but he's a good Galra, not a bad Galra. Okay. Calling the blade, I'm calling Keith. So just get a little bit to know better. If you have not watched season 4 of Voltron, do it now. Don't watch the season 8, please. I swear to you, don't. When Voltron and the Blade of Mora teamed up, Lance isn't sure how well they'll work together. Turns out he didn't have any need to worry. You got 2 coming up on your right, Red, Lance says over the comms. They shared their earpieces with blades that joined this mission. Communication is key when dealing with a spread out job like this. Lance has it set to be constantly open for all nearby comms, which means mostly his assigned team, consisting of Red, Pitch, and a few other blades who aren't exactly talkative. My name is not Red, he hears the soft hop, and he watches from his perch as Red slows at the corner, pressing himself flat to the wall, and waiting for the 2 guards to come around it before leaping at them. Then tell me your real name, and I'll call you that. Lance smirks at the silence that follows. Red's protests have gotten weaker and weaker, less grumpy as time goes on. Not that they were particularly solid protests to begin with, leading Lance to believe that he's actually kind of fond of the nickname. Lance takes a little pride in that. Hate to break up the banter, but I'm looking at the feed from Rover, and it doesn't look good, Pitch says. Lance frowns, notching air and crouching low as he scans the area below. The walls of buildings mean next to nothing when he can see signatures through them. He finds Pitch easily enough. Her energy signature appears with a tinge of green, custom coded when her specific signature was uploaded to his eyes database. She's crouched low in the corner of an alley, focused on the digital pad on her arm. Lance leaps from his perch, landing on the lower roof below and rolling automatically. The impact is a familiar ache that's already dissipating as he rolls to his knees, already lifting his bow and aiming an ice arrow at a cluster of heat signatures that are headed unknowingly towards Pitch's location. He lets it fly. It lands among them. Ice explodes out instantly, sharp and jagged spikes of it, coating the ally in a 20-foot radius of solid and frigid ice. It impales several of them, definitely frightens all of them. Lance smirks. What's the deal, Jade? Rose and Onyx nearly had Sendak, but he escaped capture, barreled right past Gold's team, and evaded the Momora team. Where is he now? Red's voice cuts in, sharp and quick. Moving just beyond the compound to the north. The rest of the guard have already most been neutralized. The riot and experiments have been stopped. The hostages are being moved to safety. Sendak's plan failed, and he's on the run. I'm going after him. Red, wait! Lance's head snapped eyes, gazed instantly, going to the last spot he saw Red. His eye locks onto it instantly, focusing and zeroing in on his energy signature. Lance had insisted before the mission that he let them upload his signatures to Lance's eye database. He insisted it was for the good of the mission to know which one was Red. Red had begrudgingly accepted the scan. If he questioned why Lance only scanned him and not the other blades, he didn't say it out loud. He watches as Red is already climbing the building next to him, moving quickly and easily up the rugged handholds of the old architecture provides, and pulling herself onto the roof without trouble. Lance knows nothing concrete about the blade, or about Red, but from what he's gathered, Red is superhuman, alien even. Better strength, better speed, better reflexes, better senses. It's impressive and a little exhilarating to watch him. I'm going after him. Blue, rally our team. Tell the others we're going. We'll converge on him. That isn't the plan. The plan failed the moment Sindak got away, Lance says, already running across the roof, bow in hand as he leaps, jumping to the adjacent roof. He barely makes it, sliding on the loose tiles, scrambling to find his feet. We're improvising now. We can't let Sindak escape. I am not letting Red go after him alone. He's running away. I lock onto Red's energy signature a few buildings over, climbing and sprinting across the rooftops with far more ease than Lance. Which is saying something, because his team has always been impressed with how well he can scale buildings and find perches and climb around with ease. It's a second nature to him at this point, but Red makes it look effortless. He feels a small spark of jealousy, but it's consumed by a spark of something far harder and far more intense that settles low in his gut. I'm gonna have his back. I need your help, comes off reply. The bastard doesn't even have decency to sound breathless, even as Lance watches him leap between buildings. Yeah, well, you got it anyway. Everyone needs an eye in the sky, and I'm your guy. If you can keep up, there's a note of something else there. Something lighter, smugger, something that's very rarely shows. Teasing. Red is teasing him. Flirting with him? You can't tell. He'll take either. Lance smirks, shouldering his bow and never slowing his stride as he jumps. Both hands out as he grabs hold of the wall of the building in front of him. He clings to a drain pipe, sturdy enough to hold his weight. His eye scans the side of the building, pointing out and highlighting the handholds and footholds. He begins to climb. Oh, I can keep up, but I prefer to stay a step behind. He pulls himself onto the roof and runs to the other side, scanning for Red and drawing his bow. I got a nice view that way. There is a heavy sigh and groan over the comms, followed by Fisher's. Just be careful, okay? Both of you. We'll be following up as soon as we can. Roger. Hey, Red. Find some cover. What? You're about to run into a dead end, and I'm gonna clear your way. Get behind cover. Now! Red does just that, ducking behind a wall with only a moment of hesitation. Lance plucks an arrow from his quiver without looking. Having memorized the specific texture pattern on each of them, he notches the explosive arrow and lets it fly. The brick wall that would have blocked Keith's path explodes, and the sound carries into the night. If they didn't know we're here, they sure do now. I suggest you hurry. Gee, thanks. No problem. As it turns out, they work really well together. Red dives into the fray, moving through enemies with a quick and agile precision. He slices and cuts, his knife forming a sword to give him better range. He throws it and pulls it from a fallen body's chest as he twists around another enemy. It's graceful and powerful, a predator on the battlefield. It's incredible to watch. Lance, however, does more than watch. He follows Red from above, able to easily find vantage points to watch over him. He shoots those that are firing at him from afar, clearing his path and stopping up enemies so Red can focus on the ones right in front of him. A couple times Lance manages to snipe one that was getting in far too close. He can't see Red's face, but the way he turns to look at him, exactly where his perch is, Lance likes to think he's smiling. When there aren't vantage points for Lance to perch on, he jumps to the ground, running alongside Red's flank, staying far enough back to shoot, and aim being no less deadly. His eyes impeccable aim and years of practice makes running while shooting easy. They catch up to Sandak, finding him blooded and bruised and limping away as fast as he can. Lance stops him from a distance, shooting an arrow that explodes into a spiky, icy barrier to cut off his path, while Red charges forward, his sword at his side. The two of them duel, and Lance can't get a good shot. He's a good shot, but they're both moving too quickly, and he really doesn't want to risk hitting Red. So he stands off to the side of the fray, one arrow notched and bow poised. Tension in the string and held only by a couple fingers. It keeps the bow trained on the two fighting, but his gaze sweeps the area constantly. He finds a few Galra rushing to help, picks them off the moment they step around corners. Lance, give me a boost! His head snaps to the side as he hears Page's voice, half through his comm and half echoing down the alley. He finds her quickly, energy signature tinged in green, small and sprinting. He follows her path, shooting several sturdy arrows to the wall of the building. She steps onto them quickly, her light weight not breaking the shafts before she is already moving onto the next. He gives her 4 steps, enough to get some high leverage, and then she's leaping. Her glowing green weapon shoots, an arrowhead connected by thick wire. It digs into Sandak's armor, and he screams, and she uses her momentum to swing herself around. Keith leaps away as she lands, pulling taut on the grapple as electricity sparks along it. Sandak screams more as it flows through him. The 3 of them make quick work of him. He throws Pitch, but Red is there to catch her, throwing them both to the ground, but safe. Lance tracks with a few well-placed arrows while they climb to their feet. 3 of them work in a wordless sync, moving constantly, Pitch and Red up close while Lance aims and circles from a distance. He takes Sandak's metal fist to the chest and is knocked to the ground, but it's the distraction the others need to take him down. So Lance will take the heavy bruising and say worth it. With Sandak down, Pidge already injecting him with a serum that'll keep him unconscious. Red crouches next to Lance, grabbing his hand to pull him up into a seated position. His hood must have fallen during the fight because it's pulled at his shoulders. Mask gone. You alright? He asks. The thick brows pinch with concern as his dark eyes search Lance's face. He manages a small smile, wincing a little as he breathes a little too deep and his ribs protest. Just dandy. Turns out we do make a good team, huh, Red? The small, barely there smile he gets in response that makes the whole breathing hurts thing irrelevant because it takes the breath away. Lance! He looks up as Laura and Cheryl and Hunk come barreling toward him, all in uniform, a little bloody and roughed up, but nothing too serious from the look of them. His eye picks up a few head signatures that hang back in the shadows, no doubt other blades watching from afar. A couple of them move forward to help Pitch with Sandak. Who's... Laura cuts off with a gasp, freezing several feet away with eyes locked on Red. Lance shifts, sitting a little straighter, still clinging to Red's hand. His grip has tightened. Head turned and eyes trained warily on the other members of Voltron. Guys, this is Red. We got ourselves a mission again, and now this is very serious. They have to take Sandak down. He's escaped, and God, boy, and they stop everything and turns all in safety. And now Sandak is coming, and is running and escaped. And now Keith is coming after the Sandak, and so is Lance coming after the Keith to catch Sandak. Yep, they're trying to take Sandak down and running through all things. And it turns out that Lance and Red, Blue and Red, are working together, to get themselves taken down Sandak. And with the help of Pidge, to get through all of it. And now everybody, the members of Voltron, have seen this person before. And now they introduce themselves to Red. Fantastic. It was very fantastic. When Lance sets out to recruit him, he doesn't know he'll say yes. Are you sure they're supposed to be here? He asks, finger pressed to his earpiece. Supposed to be? No. But they are going to be? Yes. Comes Pidge's flat reply. He can just hear it typing away. Are you doubting me? Not at all. I don't see them. Which is saying something really, because Lance seems pretty much a little bit of everything. He crouches on his vantage point, back to a wall and face to the wind, eyes scanning the area below. A lot of heat signatures clustered and slowly pacing. No one in a hurry and definitely no one alarmed. None trying to sneak, and none that he recognizes as blades. Colvin said that they're going to take out the generators first, Hawk says, simultaneously cutting off the main power supply to put the compound into darkness. From there, they're gonna carry out the mission to grab the evidence and dangerous mutants. I know, but I should be seeing them getting into position by now. Are you sure you're in the right spot? He sighs, closing his eyes briefly and clicking through the functions of his mechanical eye. It took a lot of getting used to it at first, and a lot of practice, connecting to all of his nervous system like a normal eye, but functioning like a scope and a computer and a lot of other things all in one. The first couple months he had near constant migraines, brain being overloaded with all the new signals it was receiving. He got used to it though. Next came learning how to control it, a strange mix of mental signals, intent, and a few sharp movements of the muscles that control his eye. It was definitely trial and error for a while, but by now, Lance has it down to muscle memory. He pulls up the file of Pidge uploaded for him, closing his real eye for a moment so he can focus on the map in front of his vision. It's strange to say the least. Vision tinged with a faint blue fog, but vision of what was in front of him, still in the background as a computer-like interface pulls up in the foreground of his vision. This part definitely took some getting used to in order to operate. He pulls up the blueprint of the compound and takes a moment to look them over. I'm definitely in the right place. I should be able to see the generator room and the storage facility from here. He looks again, several times rapidly, shifting away the digital interface and restoring his vision to normal for a moment before swapping back to his heat sensors. Still nothing though. He barely gets to finish before there's an explosion, loud and echoing. It shakes the building he's perched on, and he grabs the ground to steady himself. His gaze snaps to the flashes of fire and the billowing plume of smoke. Never mind, they're definitely here. The area below is in a sudden frenzy. The whole area for a couple of miles is cast into sudden darkness. Bodies bright in his heat vision, moving and rushing. He scans all of them, finding a few blades snaking through the masses, signatures tinged with a faint purple. Then he spots a running body that flared in a bright red. He smirks. Found him. I still don't like this plan, Lenore mumbles through comms. We've been over this. He will make a great addition to the team, and he'd be a good link between Blade and Voltron. But he's Gora. She trails off before it can say, but they all know what she's thinking. She hasn't taken kindly to the fact that the entire Blade is made up of the individuals that have escaped the Gora. Over half of them with Gora genetics, the rest experiments that managed to get away. The Gora, fighting the tyranny of the Gora Empire, and Lance think no less of them for it. Alert took some convincing. He'll try to say no, Shiro says. He still hasn't told them how he knows Red, but it became increasingly clear that they know each other somehow, and Lance suspects it has to be outside of uniform. Either way, Shiro had been very supportive of Lance's idea to get Red to join their team. He's made it clear that he finds Lance's mild obsession with him amusing. He'll think he doesn't deserve it, or that he won't fit in, but I think he wants to. Just ask him again. He won't say no a second time. Got it. Thanks, Shiro. We're still on comms. Call me Onyx. There's probably some scolding in there, but it sounds too light and amused. Okay, Dad. I'm only 5 years older than you, Ancient. Just go find Red. He doesn't have to be told twice. He lets the comms go dead as he climbs down from his perch, diving into the darkness and mingling with the shadows. His eye has already switched to a night mode. It's a strange thing when one eye can see in the dark and the other can't, but his brain has gotten used to the clashing signals and switches to let his right eye be dominant. He's not in his usual uniform tonight. This mission was one the Blade took for themselves. There wasn't enough evidence for Voltron to be able to do so publicly, so the Blade is doing it in the shadows, outside the law. He wears his usual boots, flexible leggings, and a flexible tank, and his specially designed archery gloves, but he wears a hoodie over top it. It's not a great disguise, but he promised to stick to the shadows. He's good at that, at least. He has a quiver strapped to his thigh and one to his back, bowstrung and slung over his shoulder. He darts through the allies and into the building, dark and without power. He clings to the walls, crouching behind furniture and corners as Gulliver runs past. He's not here to fight them. at least not on his own, though he wishes he could. He grits his teeth and moves on. His eye lets him stay a step ahead of them, moving quickly between waves of rushing Galra, and experience has him moving quickly through the fray. He finds Red deep within the building, trapped by himself in a hallway with a large handful of Galra soldiers, all bigger than him, most with weapons. He can tell from a quick glance at Red's vital signs that he's holding up, but just barely. He's quick and strong, but so are they, and he's vastly outnumbered in a place where he can't get away. Breathing deep, Lance grabs his bow, notches a scattered arrow, draws a string, and steps out from behind the corner. Red! Get down! He watches as Red steps, but he doesn't hesitate before he completes an arc of his sword before dropping to the ground. It only takes Lance a second to line up his shot. The world seems to slow as his eye shoots the information to his brain rapid fire, and his mind processes it far faster than it would for anyone else. He sees Red's position, the position of all the Galra around him. He calculates the spot, and angle, and trajectory his arrow would need to hit the scatter perfectly, enough to hit them, but not Red. He processes it all in a matter of milliseconds, sees the angle, sees the spot, mind-controlling muscles automatically as the shot is lined up, targeting scope in his eye locking onto the chosen spot. He releases. The arrow flies. It hits the wall exactly where he was aiming, scattering and breaking apart, shards flying. The Galra soldiers shout, flashes of blood, the bodies fall, some of them stay standing, only staggering but holding. Keith finishes them off quickly, then he's stepping over them, chest heaving with every breath and sword bloody as he meets Lance halfway down the hall. He grins, his mask is still on, hiding everything nose and below, but I can feel the grin crinkling the corners of his eyes, lit in his cheeks. You know, we're secret organizations who pride themselves on being sneaky. You guys sure do like explosions. He doesn't hear the laugh, nor can see his face, but he sees the slight shake of Red's shoulders. What are you doing here? Is it just him? Or did that sound mildly fond? I wanted to talk to you. Red looks around, head turning toward the bodies littering the hallway. Lance wonders if his night vision is part of mask or a natural part of him. Here? Lance shrugs, smirks still in place. I couldn't exactly call you. You guys make it extremely hard to get in contact. You could have called Colvin. I don't want to talk to Colvin. I want to talk to you. Red's head turns, snaps to the side, and staring off into an empty hallway. Lance hears the footsteps a moment later. Red is already crouching low, getting into defensive stance with his blade held up. Lance rolls his eyes and grabs him by the scruff of his uniform, dragging him backwards until they duck into an empty room. He hears the huff, but Red follows his lead, crouching low by the open doorway, safely outside. How many? Lance turns in the direction, hear the footsteps, knowing that he must look like an idiot staring at a wall. Red doesn't question it though. He's seen Lance in action far too often by now. Lance waits until the Galra get closer, waits until there's less walls between them, and he can accurately separate their heat signatures. The Galra stop by the bodies, muttering and shouting amongst themselves. He can't hear their words, but he wonders if Red can. 6, he says under his breath. They're inspecting the bodies. Still not sure if they'll head this way or not. Red nods once. What did you want to talk to me about? The question is uncharacteristically shy, uncertain, hesitant in a way that makes Lance think he wants to take them back the moment he says them. Lance keeps his head turned toward the wall, watching his interest to it, but he grins. I'm here to formally extend an invitation to join Voltron. At the corner of his eye, he sees Red turn and stare. What? Voltron? The badass team that I'm part of? Super cool superheroes? We want you to join. A pause. That uncertainty is back, but this time fringed with confusion and, if he's right about reading him, a little bit of hope. Really? Lance turns to look at him then, knows he can't see his eyes, but stares right at the glowing eyes of the mask anyway. He smiles, feeling it soften his face, hoping Red can see it too. I think we make a pretty good team, don't you? The silence between them stretches. Lance can feel it in his rapid heartbeat. His palms feel sweaty. Brad's come short as nerves eat away at his guts. He stares at the emotionless mask, whisking for all the world he could see Red's face. The Red turns away, facing the door once again. Help me finish the job, and I'll think about it. It's flat and indifferent, but in a way that sounds a hair too forced. Try as he might, Lance is far too adept at picking up on smiles to miss the one he can hear in Red's voice. He grins. You got yourself a deal. This is the last chance they had to find Red. And now the Blade of Mamora are... Well, Blade of Mamora is now finally outnumbered. They got themselves outnumbered, and now Keith is the only one who survives. But they have to finish his job so that Lance wanted Red to join Voltron. I mean, they're the good guys. They're the ones who can save and protect from Gora. And Lance really wants Red to join Voltron so bad, so that they wanted to be part of the team, and it'll make a good addition. Whew. All right. Now that we got all of that part, I think we could finish out right here. Alright. When they meet as civilians, Lance doesn't know his name. He does, however, know that face. He's recognized anywhere, despite the fact that his skin is now pale and rather fickle violet, despite the fact that his ears are short and rounded, despite the fact that his hair is now solid black instead of deep purple, with an under layer of magenta. Despite that, Lance recognizes him. He's in line at a coffee shop near Altair Court, on his usual afternoon run for some of that sweet, much-needed caffeine when he sees him. He sits at a table by the window, elbow on the table and chin in his hand, gazing out at the street, gaze distant and bored. His other hand idly holds a coffee cup, finger tapping at it. He's wearing black jeans and black t-shirt, red hoodie halfway zipped up his chest, with the sleeves pushed to his elbows, swallowing his frame and making him look small. He looks like anyone else in the coffee shop, a normal, average human, looking antisocial, bored and average, except Lance recognizes him. He knows those sharp, delicate features. He knows that pointed little nose and thick brows and the long lashes. He knows that pouty lips that seem perpetually pursed into a slight frown. He knows that unruly mop of dark hair and the way it curls and frames around his face. He's just cute like this when he's in skin-tight body armor, looking purple and primal as he stabs aliens through the chest. Once Lance gets his drink, he saunters over to the table, sliding to the seat across from him before Red has a chance to even know he's there. He blinks, lifting his head and turning to stare at him. Confusion and surprise bleed quickly in noise. Can I help you? Rough around the edges, irritated, sharp, deep voice. Yep, it's definitely Red. Lance grins, leaning back in his chair and draping his arm over the back of the empty seat next to him. His other hand curls around his coffee cup. His long legs stretch out beneath the table. He's dressed average. Jeans and a long-sleeved shirt, sleeves pushed up to his elbows, sunglasses perched atop his head. Now, is that any way to greet a friend? Red scowls Stevens, frown becoming more prominent. I don't know you. Aw, Red, you won't me. At the mention of the nickname, the man across from him stiffens, back going straight and eyes widening, brows furrowing and expression becoming a strange mix of surprise and guarded. What did you call me? Lance rewinds until it feels the ache in his cheeks, and his eyes are all squinted with it. He tilts his head, giving Red a little nod. He winks as he does so, with a wink, as the lid of his right eye closes. He activates his bionic eye. When his lid slides open again, his eye no longer match. His right is eyes blue and piercing. Red pulls back a fraction, lips parting as surprise overtakes any sort of awareness. Lance blinks, deactivating his eye, and in the flash of a moment, he's back of having two matching average blue eyes. but Red is still gaping at him. Grin still in place. He leans forward, putting his elbows on the table. Handles cradling his coffee cup. He tilts his chin down, eyeing Red through his lashes as he lowers his voice. I don't think we have been formally introduced. Name's Lance. Red relaxes slowly, surprise melting inch by inch. His expression, however, doesn't go back wearily. Instead, a slice more curved his lips, small, almost shy around the edges. Had it not been for a amused gleam in his eyes, he leans forward, mirroring Lance's position on the table, leaning in so their knuckles nearly touch and their faces are barely a foot apart. Keith. He says it like he's secret. He's not used to sharing, but he feels thrilled to do so anyway. Keith, Lance repeats, feeling far too breathless, which is a problem when he's trying to look cool. You look a little different than I remember. Keith holds up a hand, giving Lance a good look at the fake ring band that wraps around the middle finger of his right hand. It's the ring. It provides a usual field that makes me appear less purple. Human. The hand falls back to join the other around his coffee cup. This time their knuckles are definitely touching. It sends electricity buzzing through Lance's veins and shivers down his spine. Neither of them pull away from the touch. Your eye is different. Lance shrugs to the 10 scale. When all the fancy stuff is powered down, it looks just like my other eye. Keith hums, and then stretches out a finger, hooking it around one of Keith's. He doesn't pull away. If anything, his hand uncurls a little more, offering more fingers for Lance to his own around, which he does, gladly. You got any plans today? Keith's eyes are on their joined hands, a strangely soft look on his face that Lance isn't used to seeing when they're out on missions, but one that he could definitely get used to all the same. We have a meeting tonight with the team. True, I mean, before that, no. What you say we get out of here? Keith looks up then, through his lashes. Shy smile on his lips and wicked gleam in his eyes. It makes Lance's heart stutter in his chest. Think you can handle me, Blue? A spark ignites in his chest, seeping down to settle in his gut. I'm sure as hell gonna try. Okay. Wow. That was an incredible story, guys. It's just in the end, it's just Citadel's comic shop and just by themselves as humans. Not really a superhero, it's just a casual, normal stuff. Well, that is the end of this fiction called You Got Me Like Red and Blue. This is very phenomenal, if you might think. I have just finished the story, guys, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for reading this, and hopefully you do very well. Hopefully reading this, hopefully you listen to this story, and I'm gonna give myself a shout out to Witty_name for reading this one shot. This particular one shot is probably one of my best stories that I read so far. And maybe we could do more of Klance fic, but that's about it. I have nothing else to read from her, but I might have to read another story or some sort. Besides for Voltron, okay? Just keep this Voltron out of my mind and focus on some other things. But I could do Voltron again, but not Klance. It could be Klance, but it could be another story, though. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for reading this. Sorry, for listening. Of me narrating and not really commentating. It's just reading in my commentary of the one shot. Okay, I'm just serious now. Goodbye, everybody.